and then we'll wrap.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, let me just put this. We started recording a little bit late, which is fine. All right, so let's go to the next page. So a little bit about our schedules. Let me move this here. Whoops, maybe I can't do it here. Hopefully I can do it with my fingers here. I'll just move this over. Okay, this is the schedule. I'll just kind of run through it. Next month, we have the Mother's Day show. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
I think so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so the next event is on May 8th. We have our Mother's Day rose show. For those of you that are attending today, today is where we're going to show you how to groom and exhibit your roses. On May 8th, you can exhibit your roses. And if you are planning to exhibit, please let one of us know. We can definitely help you before the May 8th. Just reach out to me or Marianne if you would like us to help you, which we would love to. On June 12th, we're having a program all about English roses. We're going to be having David Austin, a representative from David Austin, Rebecca, come and speak with us. And you definitely don't want to miss that. If you still are looking for roses to put in your garden or wondering what English roses are all about, this is a fabulous way to get to know that. On July 10th, we're going to be meeting in the Rose Garden at the Golden Gate Park and have a workshop on rose arrangements for beginners. So if you love to display your roses at home or when parties or when people are coming over, definitely want to take a look at rose arrangements for a beginner. And it'll be super fun. We will be in the Rose Garden at Golden Gate Park, and hopefully, cross your fingers, it'll be gorgeously sunny. Then on August 14th, we're doing a Rose Garden tour at the Golden Gate Park, where this will be with Clayton Jones, who is the gardener at Golden Gate Park Rose Garden. And he will be giving us a tour of, if you haven't been there, and for most of you on the call, I'm sure you've been there, definitely a huge display of roses and really introduce you to what roses are available and which roses are available that you can look at. And then on September 11th, we do this annually. It's our Champagne Gala in the Rose Garden. Yes, we do serve champagne. We do come, you have to register for this event, as with all of them, but specifically for the Champagne Gala. We're actually going to be doing a rose workshop in the garden that is more on, I'll tell you a little bit about it, I think, as we get closer to that date, but we will be having that at the Champagne Gala that we do. So this is our annual event. And then on October 9th, we are thinking about doing a field trip to a rose farm. We haven't decided which rose farm yet, but stay tuned. We have plenty of time to kind of come up with that, but just wanted for those of you that may be interested. All right, so that gives you a snapshot through the year. Honestly, usually we put our rose programs 2 or 3 months in advance. I think we just were like on fire and we're like, what the hell? Let's just put them for the whole year. So click that off of our list. All right, so let's go to the next slide. I did want to, before I introduce Jolene, I want to do one more thing. For those of you that are looking for like a manual on growing roses, you might not be aware that San Francisco does provide one, Growing Roses in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you're starting your garden brand new, or even if you have an existing garden that you're not quite sure if the soil is right, or if you know, what kind of roses grow well in the area, take a look at our website. You do have to purchase it. It's $30 if you're interested in it. And I have the link there on the right side of the slide that you can take a look at. So definitely make sure to check that out if you're interested. Okay, so Jolene, let me move my people over here to the other side so everyone can see you. All right, Jolene. So I really have the pleasure to introduce our next speaker today, Jolene Adams, who will be showing all of us the grooming and staging roses for exhibition. I do want to share with you a little bit about Jolene. For those of you that know Jolene, you know her bio inside out, but for a lot of you that are new on the program today. Jolene is a wonderful and very rich resource for all of us. And once I start sharing with you why, you'll quickly understand. So Jolene Adams is an American Rose Society Master Rosarian. She's also an ARS Consulting Rosarian and a horticulture judge. She is also a California Master Gardener. She also has won several awards for roses from the American Rose Society, which includes the bronze medal, the silver honor of medal, the gold medal, and the Klima medal. She's also been very, very active within not only the Rose Societies, but the ARS. She was the 54th past president of the American Rose Society, and also is the district director of our region. And so with that, Jolene, we are so pleased to have you, and I am going to stop sharing my screen and turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you. Now I see you. Do you see me?
I can see you perfectly.
Excellent. Okay. So, getting ready for the Rose Show. The first thing you need is roses. Now, where I live, we had a terrific windstorm yesterday, so my roses are really beaten up. You're going to have to pretend that they're perfect, okay? Okay.
Okay.
So, you need tools. You need things when you're going to go to the Rose Show. I keep mine in a box like this. This is my toolbox. It opens up nicely. At the very top, I have the Rose Show schedule. Also, I have a piece of leather that a shoemaker gave me so that I can handle the rose stems without getting stuck. I like this. Blood on the roses, not a good idea. Other things you need that are in your box, a pair of shears or clippers. You might want to trim some of the leaves that got torn in the wind, so you'll have decal scissors. If you're going to use wedging material and you get it down in your vase and it's stuck, you might want to get one of these. It's a pickle puller. It's got a little wire at the bottom that can grab on and pull it back out. This is my favorite tool. I also have a knife for cutting my wedging material. I have 2 sizes of small scissors for trimming leaves. Sounds like a beauty parlor, right? Right, because roses need to go to the beauty parlor. They're gorgeous, they're finicky, and they'll give you fits. You will also need a couple of camel's hair brushes to get particles and dirt and dust out of between the petals without harming the petals. You realize that the petals of roses have cells that are kind of tilted. That's what gives roses that shimmer or a soft look one way or the other. You can tear those by sticking your finger in there to get that piece of dirt out. So use the camel's hair brush. You will also need vases for exhibition. You might have a vase like this. This has a very narrow opening. It's very good for 1 bloom per stem. It holds it nicely. You might have one with a larger opening, 2 fingers at least. This can go 3, 4, 5 stems depending on their girth if you're doing a collection. You might also have miniature roses or mini floras. Some of our local societies have a thing, it's a test tube in a wire bottom. This was done when I was still working at Berkeley, and the guys in my metal shop made the bottoms, and of course I just bought the test tubes in the store. And you can also get these little squatty bottles They're available at various glass supply stores and nursery supply stores. But let's get with the roses. Now, as I said, we had wind. These roses were perfectly okay yesterday. Look at what the wind did. You see the burn marks on the petals?
Mhm.
And there's no longer a good center. They just look shabby. Don't even bother to bring these to the rose show. Not a good idea. We also have some roses that made it without getting torn up. This one has a very lovely, lovely fragrance. This is Secret, Pink Secret, and it's got a fairly decent center. It's starting to curve over. So some judges don't want to see it that way. They want that spiral center instead. The roses are not behaving on this table, by the way. This is the center that most judges want to see. This rose is not open enough, but it does have a pointed center. And if you work with this rose, you will be able to exhibit it. You need to put it into the vase and have it basically at about that angle tilted toward the judge. And then you massage the leaves, you work on them. You're going to dust them off a bit. You can either use a very soft cloth or your fingers. You want these leaves to be glossy and framing that bloom if possible. With this particular rose, I must say it's not possible, but with the rose you're going to work with for your show, it will be possible. Now, the size of the bloom. If you have a large rose like this one, you've got this much rose, you want about 7 of those finger lengths all the way down for the stem. And you'll notice this stem is lacking. It's too short. You want a longer stem. You want a stem more like this. Then, when it's sitting in the vase, the rose is just fine for the judge to see. Right now, not so good. Talking about centers, ignore the wind burn on the rose. This one has a typical center. It's starting to open. The petals on the outside are all laying flat, so that's a good exhibition stage. This one is just a bit tight. She needs to relax just a little more. You can use a Q-tip, which you should have in your supplies, or one of those brushes, wherever I put those. There they are. And you can work with this rose, gently moving the petals, gently, gently moving the petals, gently, gently. You don't want to crack them, and God forbid you don't want to scar them, but you open that rose up a little bit, and by the time the judges come around in another half hour, it will be perfect. You've got a long enough stem. 1 or 2 of these bottom leaves can come off. And it will be just right in the vase. A nice rose for exhibition purposes. We also have roses that are called singles. That means there's only one row of petals. Not just one petal, but one row of petals. Here's a little single. Very fresh, excellent, ready for the judges. I would put this little girl in a vase like this, so she would be ready when they come by, all dusted off and cleaned up. This one is a little old. You might notice in comparison, the color is already starting to fade. The petals are flattening. The center is drying. You don't want that to happen. One little trick, if you picked this yesterday and you want that center to stay fresh, use a cotton ball. Moisten the cotton ball, just put it on top of the rose and turn the lights off, go to bed. In the morning, take the cotton ball off and the center is still going to be nice and fresh for maybe 2 hours. So timing is everything in this case. I wanted to show you some full roses. There are roses that never make a perfect center. Here's one. It's absolutely beautiful, and you would show that fully open. The judges can see stamens down there. Maybe you can't on the camera, but a fully open rose looks a lot like that. And they're gorgeous. Here's a better example. This one is balling at the center. So you can actually work on it again with your brush to open that center. And by the time the judges come around, they're going to see stamens on a very fresh rose. Don't leave fragments. Do not leave fragments. They don't have to see every single stamen. They just have to see stamens, okay? So one petal kind of curving over, not so much of a problem. This particular rose opened up overnight. It's beautiful. It's ready to go. It has enough leaves all the way around, a good center. If you stage it just right, the judges are going to like this one. Now, staging is important. Let me get rid of this huge vase. I'm taking this bottom leaf off and the next one. This is a large rose. It will go in to the bottle just about correct. It needs a little more height, and this is where you're going to want to use a little bit of foam. You push it into the top of the vase at the back of the rose, so it's not protruding above the vase, and then your rose is staged for the judges. You might want a little more stem. Unfortunately, this rose doesn't have more stem to give you. As I said, we had that storm, which was not our fault. This is distant drums. It's a shrub rose, therefore it's allowed to be a little different. It's got a side bud. You need to remove the side bud. The stem is a little short for the size of the rose. Can't do too much about that, but we'll see what we can do. Side bud coming off. Now, we have what is called a stem on stem. Here's the main stem, and then this one's coming out. Judges don't want to see that. We're not going to let the judges see that. Let's see, you're too small, you can go over there. We'll use this and another wedge. The wedge must be below the lip of the vase. And now you've got a lovely rose. We're pretending it's got a longer stem. You've got a lovely rose. And the judge really can't see any more of the stem than what's hanging down into the water. I mentioned the singles. You want them totally fresh and beautiful, like this. Sometimes you're going to want to buff the leaves. I've got an old sock. If your leaves are dull, and I mean naturally dull, you can buff them with the sock and they get shiny. Because what you're doing is you're moving the microscopic little cells into a different orientation. They're catching the light and they're shining. Just an old sock. It works. You will want to have a copy of the handbook for selecting roses, so you can look up the name of your rose, spell it properly, make sure it's in the book. You might want a list of all of your roses, so you can make sure you've got the right rose with you. You're going to want to have a supply of the tags. The night before, put your address label on both the upper and the lower piece. Many rose societies collect that bottom piece to count. So they get a full count and how many firsts, how many seconds, how many thirds. So both top and bottom need that tag. And then of course you write with a pencil, because ink runs when it gets wet, the name of the rose, both sections. You'll want to put down the class number, and in some shows they'll have sections, section 1, section 2, or section A and section B. If they do that, you put the section number as well as the class number, top and bottom. Other than that, the only thing left to do is practice, practice, practice. Are there questions?
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Jolene. Let's see, let's open the floor and let's see how we'll do this. I was finding out if there were any questions in the chat, but why don't we do this? Does anyone have a question? I'll just open up the floor.
There are a couple of questions in the chat.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, Bill Dorn here. Jolene, thank you so much. My question is about balance and proportion.
Yes. Okay.
So you have an excellent specimen that's 16 inches plus tall. You have sets of leaflets that are gorgeous, and you have a bloom size that is very nice. What do you use in your own mind to make sure that the bloom is not bigger than it is taller. I have heard 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Can you give me your take on that?
Yes, this rose is very large. If I were going to exhibit this, it doesn't have a lot of depth, as you can see. I use the rule of 7. So I look at this, that's my measure. I go down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how much stem would be needed for that.
All right,
That's
so
what
so you're using 7s. That's very helpful.
Yeah, that's
That's
what I
easy.
do.
It's easy to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. The next question is from Suzanne Horn. If you want to take yourself off mic, you can definitely ask your question. I mean, off mute.
Suzanne,
Maybe she left.
Okay, well, I'll ask her question for her. I must bow out early. Okay, there you go. Thanks for having me. All right, she didn't have a question. She was saying she was bowing out early. Oh yeah, she does. Does she have it? However, if you are looking for a Zoom speaker in the future, okay, I think that was more for me.
that's another.
Did they still disqualify for misspelled rose names? That's question is from Robbie.
They were never supposed to disqualify if you misspell a name, as long as the name is recognizable. If you can't spell Mr. Lincoln and you put MR, you know, the abbreviation for Mr., now in this modern time, that's okay. It's not correct, but it's okay because it does say Mr. Lincoln. Best if you check your spelling with the handbook so that you know exactly how to spell the name of your rose. How about miscongeniality? Some of us stumble on that congeniality stuff. If you get even close to congeniality, the judge will know that's what you mean. No, we cannot disqualify for bad spelling. We could report you to your homeroom teacher.
Mhm.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Jolene. I think that was all the questions we had from the chat. So I'll open it up. Oh, love the pickle picker. I would love to get one too, Stu. Hey, Stu. Nice that
Hi.
you're here. That's awesome. Anybody have any questions, more questions for Jolene?
I can tell you the pickle puller, you can get this at kitchen gadget stores. We used to have a lot of them in the malls of America. Nowadays, you might have to go specialty online, but it's called a pickle puller. And I don't see a brand name on it, so that's as good as I can tell you.
All right, awesome. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Elena, we did record it and we will be able to send you the recording. Okay, I think that is it. Thank you, Jolene, for a very wonderful presentation. Marianne, did you have anything else before we close?
No, not really. I mean, the recording should be ready in about half an hour.
Yeah.
And I imagine that many of you have come from other rose societies. So if you want a copy of the recording, send me an email at SF, as in San Francisco, Rose, ROSE Society at gmail.com. And I will forward the link to you.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everyone. And for those of you exhibiting, we'll see you on May 8th in the San Francisco
Hall of Flowers.
Yes, Hall of Flowers. Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous rest of your day.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jolene.
You betcha.